Peter King comes in all fired up. Must be for the lack of sleep. He's Sports Illustrated senior writer. Check out the mmqb.com, which comes out every day. I'm not aware of it. I did see it last night. I don't have enough time in the day to worry about things like this, but Peter came in breathing fire because...
I wouldn't say breathing fire, but I would just say I cannot believe how many people get fired up about Chris Christie rooting for the Dallas Cowboys.
The governor of
the state of New Jersey, who's probably going to run for president. And you got people all over Philadelphia and southern New Jersey saying, we're not voting for that guy. And I really don't understand it, okay? I mean, there's only one team that I really care about, that I would really call myself a huge fan of, and that's the Red Sox. And if I lived in Boston and the mayor was a Yankee fan, I wouldn't care. What do I care? It's just, I mean...
You care a little bit.
I really wouldn't care at all. I would care that my streets were plowed. I would care that he was doing his job. And if he wants to root for the New York Yankees or the Toronto Blue Jays, I could care less.
I am surprised, but I like Christie that he's willing to let you know who he roots for.
Yeah.
And look, I don't know how long he's been a Cowboy fan, but I
think for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But why is he getting roughed up?
I really don't know. All I know is that I saw a few things on Twitter this morning, and at the end of writing Monday Morning Quarterback, I don't know, 8 o'clock, I said, who gives a crap who Chris Christie roots for? I don't care.
But I like how people say, now I won't vote for you because you root for the Cowboys. Nothing to do with politics.
I'll just say this. When they step into the election booth in November of 2016, and it's Chris Christie against Hillary Clinton, if they're right wing and they vote for Hillary Clinton because Chris Christie was once in Lincoln Financial Field and rooted for the Dallas Cowboys, well, I already weep for America, but I really weep for America then.
Special comment by Peter King. Keith Olbermann just said, I agree with you. What if Dallas lost last night?
Well, if Dallas lost last night and didn't make the playoffs, look, I know because I've talked to Jerry Jones about this. He loves Jason Garrett. But if Jason Garrett in his fifth year, for the fourth consecutive year, got to December with the first 3 years a winner-take-all NFC East championship game, and last night a winner-take-most NFC East championship game, and he lost them all, and he had coaches out there like Jim Harbaugh and Sean Payton that he was thinking, I'd at least like to find out what their status is. I don't know what would happen. I think that he would have still hung with Jason Garrett. He loves Jason Garrett. But I just think that Jason's seat might have been a little toasty.
I was surprised with Philadelphia. Let that happen at home after what happened on Thanksgiving.
I agree, but I think what happened in this game is that the Dallas offensive line learned a great lesson from that first game. And they didn't let Fletcher Cox ruin the game the way they did the first time. Benny Logan also played really well in that first game. They just didn't let their front seven ruin that game, the Philly front seven. And, the other thing I think you noticed, Dan, is that this league is absolutely psycho. It's absolutely crazy that Cincinnati loses to Cleveland at home by 21. Cincinnati wins at Cleveland by 30. And that's just the way the league is. Ravens lose to the Steelers by 20, beat the Steelers by 20. And so this is a very, very close league right now. It's why, in the last 8 days, the Buffalo Bills have really, I don't want to say embarrassed, it's not embarrassed, but the Buffalo Bills have humbled Peyton Manning and Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, no touchdowns.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
I agree. He's Peter King. The website is the mmqb.com. He had his Monday Morning Quarterback there. Did you take Subway here?
I did, yeah.
You get recognized?
No.
Does that bother you?
No. Because I fell asleep on the E train. I haven't been to bed yet. I fell asleep on the E train, and I was very careful because I've only got to take it like 6 or 7 stops before I change to the one.
How much coffee have you had?
This is it for this morning. I mean, I had coffee at about 2:30 this morning, but then I had Cheerios and shredded wheat at about 6:15, and this is it. And then when I leave here, I'll go back home and just take a nap for a while.
Could it be good for Johnny Manziel that he got humbled yesterday? Is
Absolutely.
that the best thing that could have happened to him?
Maybe not the best thing, but I think it is a good thing because he realizes how hard the NFL is now, I think. I think he was shell-shocked. Josh Gordon said something really interesting after the game, and that is, in essence, hey, the NFL's hard. And, Dan, I think what was so interesting about this is that the part of the way the Bengals beat him in this game is they went back and looked at the worst game he ever played in college football at LSU last year and how LSU really figured out how to play him. Don't let him go to his left. Don't let him run around outside the pocket very much. Spy him consistently. And that's really a lot of what the Bengals did, and they did a smart job.
You and Fritzie were talking about Phillip Rivers. Actually, you were listening to Phillip Rivers' diatribe by Fritzie. Fritzie hates Phillip Rivers and was thrilled to see Phillip Rivers go down in flames. And you almost had a sympathetic ear towards that. Fritzie, kind of recapture what you were saying about Phillip Rivers, and then I'll let Peter respond to Phillip Rivers.
It just looks like he's in a perpetual state of crying, whining. Something unjust happened. Someone didn't run the right route.
Now you know people
the refs
describe you that way. They describe you that way.
I don't know why.
Okay, but I'm just saying people describe you as sort of a Phillip Rivers booker.
Do I really cry and whine a lot? I'm sensitive. I don't know if I'm constantly whining or complaining or crying or feel like I was victimized.
Will Phillip Rivers ever win a big game, Pete?
I mean, look, I guess you wouldn't say that winning a playoff game at Cincinnati is that big a game, but I think it's a fairly big game. But I just have the feeling that the poor guy's never going to win everything.
Ever.
I mean, it doesn't look like it to me. In the last 8 days, the table was set for them. They're 8-4. They've got the 2 toughest games left on their schedule, both in their home dump at Qualcomm. And
is that the worst stadium in football? Is that worse than Oakland?
No, Oakland and San Diego are tied for the biggest dump.
And both
it's very close. It's very close. As a matter of fact, if you polled Californians, I think they would vote for Qualcomm or Oco over their local town dump as the biggest dump in California. I'm not positive, but I think that's true.
But is it Phillip Rivers or is it the franchise?
I don't think there's anything wrong with the franchise. I think Mike McCoy, I like Mike McCoy a lot more than I guess people in San Diego like him. But I think that that if you look at his division and what he's had to go through over the years, just when he thought he was going to get back on top, Peyton Manning picks the Denver Broncos. And so for I bet a 5-year period late in his career, let's say 2012 through 2016, well, he's not going to beat Peyton Manning, probably. He's not going to beat John Elway. And look, Tom Telesco, the young general manager of San Diego, if I had my choice of any general manager in football right now, he'd be in the top 3 or 4. He's fantastic. He learned at the feet of Bill Polian and learned a lot from Tony Dungy also in Indianapolis. So he's great. And they're going to have a good team for a long time. I just worry this year, they really had a good defense. They were set up to be good. And they have 2 games in 8 days at home, New England and Denver, and they don't come within 10 points of either one of them.
It's almost like they're the AFC version of the Cowboys prior to this year. But
right.
The last few years, they've just been...
Or the Atlanta Braves. But the Braves won once.
Yeah. San Diego's not. Well, they got to the Super Bowl once and then got humbled by Steve Young.
Yeah, that was Stan Humphries, wasn't it?
I think so.
Stan Humphries and
can you
Bobby Ross.
Can you stay an extra segment here?
I can always stay an
extra
extra
I just
segment,
want to. We'll try to keep you awake.
Yeah.
I want to ask you about Marcus Mariota. He was here last hour, about the personality of a quarterback and if that could be a detriment. And did Aaron Rodgers lose the MVP yesterday? We'll continue with Peter King. The website is the mmqb.com. This is the Dan Patrick Show. By the way, Pirate fans loving the sweatshirt that you're sporting there today, Pete. A little street cred. Yeah. You didn't even know you had it on, did you?
I love PNC Park.
Yeah.
It's really one of my favorites. It might be my favorite other than the two old ones.
I like San
love
Francisco.
racing. I love San Francisco.
Yeah. San Francisco and Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh with downtown, they just did it right. They incorporated a view in there where some of these other, like
And
San
plus-
Diego, there's no view. Cincinnati, you don't have that view. Pittsburgh did a great job.
I love the parks that you can stay in a downtown hotel and walk over to the game. Even if I don't care if it's a half-hour walk. If you can walk, that's great. And in Pittsburgh, the walk's almost too short. Yeah, I got a very quick story about PNC.
Okay.
So I saw the Red Sox there maybe 3 years ago. And after the Friday night game, they were doing fireworks. We didn't care to stay for the fireworks. And so we were walking back to the Renaissance Hotel, which is right over the Clemente Bridge. And we noticed this guy in front of us with a white towel over his head. He's sort of hunched over, and you could tell trying not to be seen. So I just walked up, and I just looked over, and I said, man, it's Euclid. So Euclid was walking from the ballpark back to his hotel in downtown Pittsburgh. That's how close it was.
We're talking to Peter King. The mmqb.com is the website. Must read certainly today, recapping everything that happened over the weekend. Marcus Mariota came in with his Heisman. And Tony Dungy said he reminds him of Aaron Rodgers. And if he had the number one pick, he would take him if he's Tampa. And the one thing I wondered about is when you're the face of a franchise in social media, what teams do now, the number of times that the media gets a chance to talk to you, he hates doing it. He's uncomfortable doing it.
But I'll say this, Dan. You know, if Tony compares him to Aaron Rodgers, he's a lot like Aaron Rodgers personality-wise. He's a quiet guy who doesn't like the attention at all. Aaron Rodgers once told me that when he gets out of football, what he wants to do is go coach high school somewhere where nobody knows who he is. And that's an exaggeration. They're all going to know who he is. But he just wants to go live a life.
But Rodgers is good in the media.
He's very good. He's very good. But just remember this about Aaron Rodgers. He sat behind Brett Favre for 3 years and watched Brett Favre handle everything the right way his last 3 years in Green Bay until, he retired and then wanted to come back. But Favre always handled everything great. So he saw that and he got the training. He understood. He understood what the life was like, which is why, we were talking about it in the break. The place for Marcus Mariota is Tampa.
Yeah.
Absolutely unequivocally. He should not go to a place where they eat their young, like New York. He shouldn't go there. Not that they're going to go. He's going to go there now unless they trade up, because they're not going to have the first pick. But Tampa could very well have the first pick. That's a great place for him. He's got 2 good receivers. He's got a very good young tight end. He's got a good kind of flat line coach in Lovie Smith. And he doesn't have a nutty market, where they're up and down, so much. And so to me, I think Tampa would be a great place for him to learn. It's almost like a starter market in a lot of ways. I don't mean that in any way to be critical of Tampa. I just mean it doesn't have the intensity of some of the other markets. And even a place like Cleveland, and I felt it yesterday after Johnny Manziel, I felt like, oh, my God, it's over for Johnny Manziel. And it isn't over. It was only one start.
Yeah.
But even me, and I read back my column on the way over here today, and I said, Johnny Manziel, iron pyrite, fool's gold. And it's one start, and he's, 22 or 23 years old. You got to give him a chance. But I think this will sort of shock him into now working at the level that he needs to work.
Aaron Rodgers' MVP candidacy, how much of a hit yesterday with the loss in Buffalo?
I think it took a hit, but I still had him number 1 in my column today. There's 2 weeks to go. I think that his body of work has been good enough now. If they lose their last 2 or, one of their last 2 and Brady is great or J.J. Watt's had 5 sacks the last 2 weeks. What if J.J. Watt ends up with 22 sacks and all the rest of these ridiculous numbers? And, I looked yesterday. I mean, Andrew Luck has got 38 touchdown passes. I mean, there's a lot of great, great players this year. And I
don't think the Colts are that good.
I don't either. And so obviously Luck really has to be great. And then, there's a lot of candidates.
DeMarco Murray?
I mean, I guess so, but I'd be hard pressed to watch that game yesterday and say that DeMarco Murray was more valuable than Tony Romo. And that was their biggest game of the year, in my opinion. Either that or Seattle. But, I mean, that was a huge game for them, and I just look at that game, and I thought Tony Romo was more important to their cause, and maybe even Des Bryant, than DeMarco Murray was.
Bears going to clean house in the offseason?
I've heard conflicting things about that, and they're one of these Pravda organizations. You never know until the end. You never know until it happens.
Yeah.
But I think there's a chance they clean house. But I really don't know what the truth is. I do believe there's a lot of sentiment in there that we have to make a lot of changes. And the question now is, what does a lot mean? A lot doesn't mean just Aaron Kromer, the offensive coordinator, and Mel Tucker, the defensive coordinator. I don't think that would assuage the fandom, in Chicago. I think they have to do more than that.
What about the Saints? Sean Payton there?
I think he's probably going to be there. Probably. I just, it's been 9 years now, and you just have to wonder after a while, are people hearing the same message? And Sean came out last week after I said that last week, and he said, absolutely not. I'm going to, whatever he said he was going to stay there. And he probably will. But I look at that and I say, Sean Payton's mentor is Bill Parcells, and Parcells always knew when it was time to go. Always. And, there's no battle about it. There's no fighting about it. And Sean and Mickey Loomis are best buddies. I think if either one of them figures that it's time to go, or Sean wants to go, Mickey will basically say, yeah, okay, I'm going to look out for the franchise, but you've been great for this franchise. And again, I don't think he will go. It's just I've really started to think that Sean has to be thinking about the way Parcells ended up leaving, which is you always want to leave a year early before a year late.
The owners getting together next spring. Are they going to vote in another playoff spot, AFC, NFC? Does this season impact? How does that impact the vote?
Not at all. I mean, as far as the playoffs go, I don't think anything has changed since last spring when they said, in essence, the majority of owners in this league really like this idea and want to go to 14 playoff teams. So it's probably going to happen. It's just not going to happen this year. We got too many things on our docket this year.
What about reseeding?
I don't sense any enthusiasm for either reseeding or for taking the home game away from the absolutely pathetic team in the NFC South, which is, I think, abominable. I think it is utterly preposterous that the Seattle Seahawks could win 12 games and
be on the road.
and have to go to a 6-9-1 Carolina team, or whatever, 7-8-1. I don't know what it'll be, but just it's wrong. It is not the best thing for fairness or competitive balance in your league.
Get some sleep, Peter.
Thank you, Dan. I appreciate it.
Always great to see you.
Thank you.
You can go sleep on the couch if you want to. We got a blanket. Fritzy will put a blanket on.
I'd love to meet Warren Buffett, but I think I'd love to sleep a little bit more.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
How come he's coming here? That's fun.
He's on the phone.
Oh, he's on the phone.
Yeah. He was there on the sidelines to watch Ndamukong Suh yesterday, and then flying to see LeBron tonight.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's nice.
Not bad. Which team would you want to buy? The Lions, or you could buy the Cavaliers if you had $80 billion?
I would want to buy the Detroit Lions just because
the NFL?
I like football more than I like basketball. I'm not that big a basketball fan.
If I said you could own the Red Sox or the Cowboys?
The Red Sox. Come on.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Fair enough. Get some sleep.
Thank you.
Peter King, the mmqb.com.